We have the National Association for Equal Justice in America, known as NAEJA President, Mr. Royce Esters. Welcome, Mr. Esters. How you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty good.
All right. So today, we're going to talk about the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution, better known as the Bill of Rights. So here we go. The First Amendment guarantees the freedoms of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. Can you go into details for us?
Yes, the freedom of speech and the right to assemble is something that we have in America. That if you take that away, then we have no expression of freedom, and you have redress against your government.
So, the freedom of free speech. So, is someone allowed to go out and just threaten someone's life without no consequences?
Well, you can't do that. Another thing too, you can't holler in a freedom of speech in a movie theater. You cannot do that in a movie theater. Say something in a movie theater. That's not freedom of speech. That's chaos.
Absolutely. The Second Amendment protects the rights of individuals to keep and bear arms.
You have a right to bear arms in America, but back in the day, is that you had to have to bear arms. But one of the things about it, you can't have no AR-15 shooting people. That's what it's not about. It's about to protect your family, and that's what it's about.
Absolutely. The Third Amendment restricts the quartering of soldiers in private homes. Can you explain that for us?
Yes, a soldier has no right to occupy your house. That's not wartime, and you have to have no. In fact, that is one of the things that we have a problem with ICE going around messing with people, and that's violation of civil rights. You have a right to protect you and your family.
Right. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures requiring warrants based on probable cause.
Okay, one of the things here, if someone call you, if I say, please call the police and come to your house, that is legal. But unreasonable search and seizure is not right. It violates the Fourth Amendment, backseat detention, and they have a right of redress under the color of law is a federal crime and civil rights of excessive force. That's all in the Fourth Amendment.
So for the Fourth Amendment, does that apply just for home or home in car or in general?
It applies for home and your car. If you're in your car, all you do is just show your license and your insurance. If you're on parole, they can go and search your car. Otherwise, they're violating your civil rights under the color of law, which is a federal crime in America. Anyone has power over you is under the color of law.
So if a police officer comes to your house, knocks on the door, or law enforcement, and they say, hey, we want to see what you got inside, do you have to let them in?
No, you can't have a warrant. You have to have a warrant.
Absolutely. The Fifth Amendment guarantees due process of law, protection against self-incrimination and double jeopardy, and ensures just compensation for private property taken for public use.
Well, you have a right not to witness yourself or criminalize yourself under the Fifth Amendment. Back in the day, the mafia always said, I plead the Fifth, I plead the Fifth. Although they were criminals, they had a right to the Fifth. But you can't witness yourself or criminalize yourself under the Fifth Amendment.
So let's say, hypothetically, let's say someone robbed a bank and they're in court, and the prosecutor asked them, hey, did you rob this bank? So would that person say, Could that person plead the Fifth Amendment?
He probably could plead the Fifth Amendment, but it wouldn't do no good because robbing a bank is a federal crime.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's you can't rob no banks. Absolutely. The Sixth Amendment ensures the right to a speedy and public trial, the right to counsel, and the right to confront witnesses. If you could explain that for us.
You have a right of speedy trial in America, and you have redress against the government when they are doing wrong. You also have a counsel, and you must be able to face your accuser.
Absolutely. So it ensures us to a right to a speedy and public trial. Are you allowed to say, hey, I don't want no speedy trial? Matter of fact, I want to stretch this out. Is that something that's possible?
Well, you don't want to stretch it out because a lot of times people want a plea bargain. They want to give you 30 years and say, I can get you off in 2 years. We had a case like that in Torrance where they wanted a plea bargain. I wouldn't let them plea bargain. I said, this woman is not guilty, and she pleaded not guilty, no contest, so that's guilty. So you don't want a plea bargain, you want a trial, you want to say not guilty. And that's how we saved that lady. And we also got on the Gardena Police Department, providing her civil rights and not letting her have due process and protection of the law.
Okay, so you said if a person pleads no contest, is that saying you're guilty?
Yeah, either you're not guilty or you're guilty. Pleading no contest is that you're guilty.
Absolutely.
We don't want to do that.
The Seventh Amendment guarantees the right to a jury trial in civil cases involving a certain dollar amount.
Well, if it exceeds $20, you have a right to have the freedom of a jury. That's about it.
Okay, so in a civil trial, if let's say you let somebody borrow $200, and they say, hey, I'm not paying you back. Pretty much you have a right to sue that person in civil court?
Yeah, you could in a civil court, but it's just a misdemeanor. Anything over $25 is a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. But you have a right to take them to court, and it's like a petty crime.
The Eighth Amendment prohibits excessive bail and fines as well as cruel and unusual punishment. You can explain that?
That's a good one. Excessive bail is violating the Eighth Amendment of cruel and unusual punishment. Putting people in jail, walking down the street, harassing people is an unusual, cruel and unusual punishment under the Terry. When you stop someone, you're not in South Africa where you have to show papers. It's called this Terry stops. And that's illegal to harass people walking down the street. We're not in South Africa. You don't have to show papers in America. You shouldn't have to. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and they're doing that now.
They're doing that now.
So let's say a person commits a crime. Let's say, I don't know. Let's say somebody steals a car, and so they get arrested. What will be deemed as excessive bail and fines, for an example?
If they stole a car?
Yeah, let's say they stole the car and now they're up for bail. What would be an excessive amount of bail for that crime?
I think excessive bail for something like that would be like $100,000. That would be cruel and unusual punishment because the case we had, they had to pay $50,000, but it only had to pay $5,000, 10%.
Okay, absolutely. The Ninth Amendment affirms that the enumeration of specific rights in the Constitution does not mean that other rights retained by the people are not also protected.
Well, you remember we had states' rights in the Jim Crow area. The right of the people under the states' rights is something that we have, it's up to the states, but it's violating the state's civil rights law. You have the right to freedom, you have a right to everything else, and they had the gerrymandering, denying people to vote.
And the 10th Amendment reserves powers not delegated to the federal government, to the states or the people.
Well, you have to have reserve for the people, because you don't give the people the right to freedom of expression again, then you are violating the civil rights of the people.
Absolutely. So, and there's always that argument. We all know that the federal government supersedes the state governments, but when do the state supersede the federal government, if at all?
Well, I'll give you an example. If you have a riot or whatever it is, the governor's in charge, and he's the one who can call the National Guard. I understand that the federal government can do what they want, but they're violating the right of the people. Then if I don't call you in, you should work with us. The federal government should work with us. I have a right, as a governor, I have a right to have my own National Guard. When the federal government come in, they're trying to act like a dictator of chaos.
Absolutely. But the president absolutely reserves the right to take over any state's National Guard, but it's not commonly practiced.
Well, he has a right, but it's morally wrong. It's morally wrong for him to do that. You need to work with the state, not go against the state. He's supposed to help the state, not go against the state. He has an oath to abide by the law himself. When you break that oath, then it's just like treason. For instance, when they did the coup, the treason, he violated the oath of domestic and national origin, and he should be definitely arrested because of that. That was a coup, and but yet the Supreme Court has made it have immunity, which is wrong. That's like ethics. They need 20 years. They don't need a life on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is a kangaroo court, and it's an alleged helping a criminal enterprise with a man who had 34 felonies. Why is he the president? Under the 14th Amendment in Section 3, if you are violating the Constitution, you should not be the president. Under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment and unreasonable, and that's due process and protection law. He has violated all those civil rights. In fact, he's violated the civil rights of the people of the United States of America.
So that brings it to the government. We have 3 branches of government. We got the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. We know the legislative branch, the Congress, makes the laws. The executive branch enforces the laws. And the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court and the other federal courts, they interpret the laws. But can you break down what exactly is the legislative branch, better known as Congress?
They create the laws, they make the laws, and the executive branch take care of the laws. And the judicial, when you can't get nothing from the executive branch and the legislative branch, you go to court so that you can have legal redress against your government.
Absolutely. So if a law gets passed, so let's say Congress puts together a new law and they get it passed in the Senate, get it passed with the House of Representatives, it goes to the president's desk. Do the president have to sign that into law, or they can bypass it?